Have you been wondering if you really need a dissertation coach at this point? Have you been thinking that you could do it yourself but weren't quite sure yet? If so, watch this video because I'm going to talk about 3 signs that you do not need a dissertation coach. And for those who are just tuning in, my name is Dr. Ron Goings. I'm your host of From ABD to PhD show and founder of Done Dissertation. And our goal at Done Dissertation is help demystify the dissertation process so that you, the doctoral student, can write and defend your dissertation in record time. Today's episode of From ABD to PhD show is sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. The coaching program provides a supportive structure to help you get from start to finish through your dissertation process. So if you find that you need more than getting, access to videos like this, but you want more support, you want feedback on your work, you want to be in a coaching environment, you want to be in a scholarly community with other like-minded doctoral students like yourself, then I would invite you to apply to work with us in our Velocity Coaching Program. You can learn more about our program by going to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan a QR code that is here on your screen. So let's get into it because on today's episode, I want to talk about the 3 signs that you need a dissertation coach. You all might be wondering, right? A lot of times in our content, we talk a lot about why you need a coach, what you need to do, and why you need to get one. But we know that coaching is not always right for everyone. And so I wanted to put out a video for you that might be helpful in your decision making to determine, is this the right time for me to seek out coaching? And so let's get into it. So when we're thinking about the reasons why you might not need a dissertation coach, the first sign that you may not need a coach right now is the fact that you are still in coursework. I do want to give one caveat to this for my folks who are in coursework. And here's the caveat. If you're in a doctoral program that requires you to write your dissertation along with taking courses, then a support like ours or a coach would be helpful for you at that point. But if your program is more traditional and what they require you to do is, do your coursework and then do some type of comprehensive exam and then you get to your dissertation, if you're in the coursework phase, coaching is not the right time for you at this point. However, I want to give you some advice for those who are watching who are just in coursework on what you can do to help, set yourself up for success for the dissertation so that you may not need a coach. You may not need our support. You may be able to just benefit from watching these videos and not need to invest, the monetary resource to get more support. So, if I think back to about my time as a doctoral student at Morgan State University, what I would do differently, what I always recommend for folks is that if you're able to come into your doctoral program with some idea about the research question that you want to explore, it doesn't have to be perfectly put together, but when you have a question that's leading your, what you're thinking at the time, when you approach coursework, now you can set yourself up in your courses to do everything related to that question. And if you're someone who doesn't have a question together quite yet, what you can do, and might be of help, is that you actually just have a topic at that point, which most of you all usually go to a doctoral program with a topic. And then all of your coursework is tailored to that topic so that by the time you get to your dissertation, the literature in your area is not new. In fact, that you've read a lot of the key and seminal work in your particular discipline or in your particular topic area so that you can easily recognize, like, how do you plan to build on it for your dissertation? Because for a lot of folks, what we see in a lot of our clients is that sometimes they are, before they get to us, are trying to scramble to put together what their topic is going to be. And it's hard to move things along when you don't have that part together and you don't know the literature, because that stuff is the part as a student that just takes time. You got to do the reading, the comprehending of what the literature is suggesting, the really playing around with the ideas, the synthesizing of the work. Those are all things that if we had an ideal world, you would do all that type of work in your coursework, so that when we got to the dissertation, you could focus your time and energy on actually just writing and, seeing and putting together a research project that's going to advance your field. But this is really important. So if you are currently in your coursework phase, this might be a sign that coaching is not for you right now. It's not to say it will never be for you, but it just might not be for you right at this moment. So if any of this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments. If you have questions that pop up as we're chatting, let me know in the comments. And after this recording, I will definitely come back around and connect with you all in the comments to see what things popped up, what insights that you might have that are related to the topic for today, about 3 signs that you actually do not need a dissertation coach. So when we think about sign number 2, that you do not need a coach, it is because you do not have a dissertation chair. Trust me, You don't want to try to get help from a coach if you don't have a chair in place. Here's why. If you don't have a chair in place and we give you some sense of direction with your dissertation, what happens if it gets to your, you start to finally get a chair, maybe a couple months down the road, and then the chair is like, I don't like this topic altogether. And they actually want you to scrap everything you've been working on. Literally not having a chair in place, it really makes it tough for you as a doctoral student to make that forward momentum on your dissertation, because you do need that guidance. At the end of the day, your chair and those, 2 to 5 committee members really is the audience that you are trying to, present your work to. And you have to be mindful and actually have a chair. There are like the infrastructure of this process at your university. And so not having a chair is detrimental to the process. And if you are someone who's trying to figure out what to look for in a chair, we actually wrote a book called 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, a guide to navigating the dissertation process and finishing in record time. I wrote this particular book because I know a lot of doctoral students trying to figure out, how do I select chairs? How do I think through that process? And if that's you and you're in that particular boat, we have a book for you. I'm going to put the QR code that's here on your screen. It's $25 to purchase the book. But the book is really helpful, and it gives you a framework to think through how to select a chair, because this is so important. And this is why it's like no need to work with the dissertation coach if you don't have your chair in place quite yet, because they are so critical. But choosing your chair is one of the most important things I believe that a doctoral student will do as part of their dissertation process, because you and your chair will have so much one-on-one time in terms of together and working with each other. If you have the ability to choose, you want to choose wisely. And in that book, I provide insights and strategies on how to select your chair, among many other things related to the dissertation process. But again, you have to please, whatever you do, if you're, thinking about getting support, if you don't have a chair in place, don't invest your money. And here's the catch. If you are contemplating coaching and they don't ask you about your chair, run immediately, because they don't know what they're talking about. Because the first question any good dissertation coach would ask you is something around, well, what does your chair think about your project so far? Or how is the relationship between you and your chair? Or what's been going on so far when you submitted drafts to your chair? What has been their feedback? Those are critical questions that when you're working with a coach, they would ask you. And if you come to us saying that you don't have a dissertation chair, we'll say, right now is not the time. Velocity is not the right place for you at this point in time. Now, if you have questions about how to select a chair or you're contemplating, please drop it in the comments, and we'd be happy to answer those questions. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this, if you can hit on YouTube, if you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and wherever else you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, other spots, make sure you follow us so that you know when new content comes out. Because we found that over 90% of people who watch our content are not either following us or subscribed. So please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button and follow us on all of our social media platforms. But again, today's episode, I wanted to talk about 3 reasons why you don't need a dissertation coach. So sign 2 is that, you don't have a chair in place. Now, sign 3 that you don't need a dissertation coach is that the dissertation is not a priority or the timing's not right. Here's the reality. We know that as doctoral students, you are extremely busy. I get it. And it's important to consider whenever you're investing yourself in a coach, are you willing to make the dissertation a priority? Because if not, you are throwing away your money. And one thing we hate more than anything is that folks to come to us at done dissertation and don't do the work because they didn't have the dissertation as a priority. And we don't want people investing in that. Like literally, we will say, if you're not ready to make the time investment, the energy investment, don't worry about spending money with us. Like, use our free content, and then when you're ready to really dig deep and dive deep into your dissertation, then come around and get some coaching support. But if you're someone in a situation where you have a lot going on and you're not able to either shift things around to make the dissertation priority or just recognize that you are going to make it a priority, don't get coaching. And if a coach is pressuring you to join and it's not a priority for you, like, you need to run immediately, because, and that's an internal decision. So, you have to recognize who you are and how you approach things if you're willing to make that a priority. And what you need to recognize with your dissertation is that it's not forever. It's literally a moment in time. I think back from my whole dissertation process. If I took the time when I first started to when I finally graduated, it was a year. It's not that long in the scope of things. I finished my a dissertation. I graduated now going on 9 years ago. And so much has gone by since earning the doctorate. And it's so funny how that dissertation process was just a small blip in kind of like the arc of my career. And I want you to kind of consider that as well. Like your dissertation is not everything. It feels like a lot right now, but it's not everything. So when you are thinking about that, you have to recognize if the dissertation is going to be a priority for you at this moment in time. Because think about it, it's almost like, bringing a new child into the world type of situation where you are creating something that did not exist before you started. And in order to create something, it takes time, it takes energy, and it takes momentum. And one thing that will stall your momentum is, like, say for 2 weeks, you're making progress, every couple of days you're writing, you're doing this thing, you're moving forward, everything's going good. Then you stop for 3 weeks. Now you come back 3 weeks later and it's like, oh my God, where did I leave off? And then what you will end up doing, which we all do, we're all guilty of it at some point, is that you will go back to reread everything you wrote the last time you wrote. You will not like it. You will start to edit it. And then before you know it, you spend about an hour to an hour and a half doing editing on all that previous stuff you wrote, and you have nothing new to show. And then when that happens, you start to get upset with yourself because, like, oh my God, I procrastinated. Like I had some stuff to do and I spent all this time doing these other things and getting this other writing done and re-editing stuff when I need to be focused on, creating the new writing that I needed to for my dissertation. And then that cycle then says, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about this, and it doesn't become a priority. And it's just this continuous cycle that happens. You might be a student at that point, you might be stuck in that loop for years. We see it all the time for folks who have recognized, like, hey, I need help, but it's not a priority. And then people don't make it a priority for years. And it's not until you make it a priority that it gets done. And when we find is that when our clients make this dissertation a priority, they finish quickly. And at the time of this recording, shout out to Stephanie for successfully defending your proposal. We're extremely proud of you, what you've been able to do at the University of Georgia. And, when we talk about a lot of our clients, folks come in, been in that point where it wasn't a priority. They get the infrastructure, they get the scholar community, and then next thing you know, this process starts to fly by very quickly because they were willing to put the time in. And so again, I want you all to be mindful of having the time and space to devote. If you're not willing to make it a priority, don't waste your time. It just might not be the space for you to get this thing done. And just to summarize, the 3 signs you don't need a dissertation coach. Sign number 1 is that you are still in coursework, with the caveat that if your doctoral program requires you to write your dissertation along with coursework, then it might be a good time to get a coach if you are stuck in the process. Sign number 2 that you might need a coach is that, you have recognized, excuse me, our thing went away. There we go. Sign number 2 is that you recognize that you don't have a chair. Look, there's just is what it is. If you don't have a dissertation chair, this is not the time to invest in a coach. Get your chair, get things moving with your chair, and then get some support to augment if you need that. And then finally, sign number 3 that you might benefit from and might not need a dissertation coach at this point in time is that the dissertation for you is not a priority, or your timing is just not quite right. We know people have stuff going on, but we want you all to make this a priority. And if you don't want to make it a priority, do not invest in coaching. For my folks who are watching and you find that, those don't apply to you and you're like, shoot, I still need help. If that is you, I would welcome you to work with us in our Velocity Coaching Program. You can learn more about our program by going to www.velocitydissertation.com. Again, you can scan the QR code that is here on your screen to learn more about our program. Scroll all the way through. You can hear from testimonials from past clients. You can learn how the program is structured. All those things are really important. And you can schedule a consultation with us to see how we can help you get to the finish line. So if that's you, scan the QR code or go to www.velocitydissertation.com. With that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of From ABD to PhD Show. I hope you found this beneficial. If you do us a favor, if you hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel, that'd be extremely important. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. I think we have 225 left. I think we're around like 775. So you hitting the subscribe button, notification bell will be so helpful for us to reach our goal. And then if you are, someone that knows another doctor that might need help, hit the share button on this video. Send it to them wherever you're looking at this, on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook. Hit the share button, because we want to get this information into the hands of more doctoral students so that they can make informed decisions about when is the right time to get coaching. Because what we hate to see is for folks to come to us after, investing in a coach and recognizing it wasn't the right time, and, shelled out thousands of dollars. And we don't want that. So this is why we put this content out, to give you all the support, the information and things that you need to make the best decisions possible. And with that said, I look forward to seeing you hopefully in the Velocity Coaching Program. But until next time, I wish you a done dissertation.